Hello everyone, this is the knowledge sharing semi, and I'd like to talk about a very interesting topic. It's uptake of the residential energy efficiency measures and renewable energy. Do special factors matters? And this article was published on energy policies in 2022. Uh, let's start. This is content, the introductions, the energy policies and barriers in the Netherlands, the factors that affected carbon emission reductions, the methodologies, and finally the result. First of all, maybe everyone knows Paris Agreement, and in this agreement, many developing and developed countries contract to each other, and they achieve the aims to improve the energy efficiency and stimulate the energy transitions. However, in Netherlands, the household energy use provide the big challenges to achieve that goals. The built environment accounts for around 33% of the Netherlands' final energy consumptions, of which 20% is used in the residential housing. So the authors figure out if the better housing installations, increasing the share of energy generated from renewable sources, can be some useful solutions to that problems. So in these papers, the authors will analyze the roles of physical, socio-economic, and motivational, the rules of the spatial, considering the difference of the urban and rural areas factors in household emission reduction measures decisions using the latest release of the Dutch Housing Service from 2018. And the spatial perspective has received limited attention in the related literatures, but this can be a significant element to take on board in policy considerations. Before that, I hope to complement some energy policies and barriers in the Netherlands. As for the government of the Netherlands provide the residential energy policies, which such as energy savings subsidies, sustainable energy investment subsidies, national energy savings fund. And the National Energy Saving Funds offers energy saving loans of up to 25,000 Europe dollars to private home and apartment owners. And the interest of these loans is usually tax deductible, even though most policies offer financial incentives. Not everyone can benefit from them, and the policies still face barriers such as lack of the reliable information and transactions cost, such as trust or distrust in contractors, or the overall hassles of the arranging renovations. And some household is energy poverty, and which means in inaccessibilities and prohibitive cost of the energy service. There are many factors that can affect carbon emission reductions. The building factors, such as, which means the first features is that the new dwelling are generally more likely to require less emission reduction measures such as insulated glazing, and housing type still play a important role. Compared to apartment, it is easier to install solar panels on roofs of the built house. And the house turners is also a factor. The house owners are being more willing to do the emission reduction measures than the tenants due to the ownership effect. And as for the socioeconomic characters and characteristics and social context, the report said higher incomes households tend to be more likely to adopt emission reduction measures due to the less financial constraint. And the same phenomena can appear on people who are in higher education levels because they pay more attention to energy saving and pay more attention to the energy efficiency. And the age is also the element, is also an element. The elder people tend to have less knowledge of the new technology and they face more uncertainties on whether their investment will be recovered, and thus a negative effect is expected. And as for the motivations, the most obvious one is financial reasons. The higher energy cost and uptake in energy in emission reduction measures are positively related. And the elements that can be extended to the spatial factors, the house density can reflect the building features. We all know that households further from urban centers may benefit from more space, and households in rural areas are more likely to invest in heat smarters, but pay less to solar panels. And as for the cost, the extra cost associated with travel and installation cost, lower incomes, and less access to information can affect rural people's willingness to reduce carbon emissions. And different people from urban and rural areas show different attitudes towards carbon reductions. So in order to better analyze, we use the latest release of the Dutch Housing Service to examine the recent trends influence the uptake of the emission reduction measures. This service provides data on almost 75,000 households and their housing situations, moving behaviors, preference, and decision considering energy. And uh, the difference in uptake of the insulated glazing between the owners and tenants is just over 5%. While the uptake of the insulations on roof, floors, or walls shows a difference of over 10%. To better understand this observed difference, the probability of uptake of each emission reduction measures is modeled as these equations. So here, after the calculations, we get the result, and this table presents the result of each type of the emission reduction measures distinguish between owners and tenants, and we will discuss the result by main categories of different factors. This is the spatial factors that we focus, and we can see from this figure that the uptake share is the greatest in the northeast and more rural regions. And there are also regions difference across the specific measures. For the insulated glazing, the northern regions have the highest shares, which could be explained by a relatively poor overall housing qualities in these regions, and also that many subsidies were applied here, along with a few regions in the center and further southwest. And installations, roofs, floors, and walls show somewhat different patterns with insulated glazing. And turning to the solar panels, the uptake shares are relatively much lower, where in many regions this is less than 12%, especially in the certain west part of the country. And as for the boiler categories, there is much more uptake, mostly in border areas in north, west, and south. And as for other results, the building features can be shown as following. The first is private housing sector still appear to lag compared to social housing consistently across emission reduction measures. And it is less likely for people living in apartments to invest in emission reduction measures compared to people living in other types of housing. And the largest difference show up for solar panels and installations of roof, floors, and walls. The construction period also emerged to be significant, and in general, the newer the house, the lower the probability of investing in emission reduction measures, which reflected that newer buildings tend to already have some measures installed. And as for the socioeconomic characters and the social context, the larger households are slightly more likely to invest in installations because they use more energies. It will incentive doing emission reduction measures, and the age is also can also influence the result. Uh, the probability to invest is relatively higher for 35 to 64 category compared to those above 64. The likelihood of investing for the 35 to 64 age group is almost twice as high. This can reflect that the elderly may have less knowledge of this technology or are more uncertainty about how and whether they will work and be financially worthwhile. And as for the motivations, if people want to move, the probability of investing is around 45% lower than those who have absolutely no desire to move. And we can clearly and easily to understand it from our experience. So that's all for my part. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, you can give me a comment or give me a message. So that's all for my part. Thank you very much.